Welcome to the Click Down. This is where we dive deep into the world of Citrix technology. I'm your host, Steve Beals, and I'm back with you for another fantastic season, and I'm thrilled you have joined me. This season, we're going to be discussing many new Citrix features, releases, and topics related to the Citrix platform, with special guests direct from Citrix product and engineering teams. I hope to bring you insights into what our teams are delivering and how they can help with your enterprise to deploy, secure, and manage any app to any user on any device. And to start off this season, we are exploring the exciting intersection of Citrix and Windows 365. So if you've ever wondered how to create a seamless and secure cloud PC experience for your workforce, or are even curious about the future of hybrid work, this episode is going to be for you. We're going to be talking about how Citrix and Microsoft are teaming up to deliver the next generation of virtual desktops and applications. We're going to break down what Windows 365 is, how it fits into the Citrix ecosystem, and some of the benefits that this combination can bring to your organization. My guest today, who I'm lucky to have, is Thomas Berger, product manager here at Citrix. Thomas, welcome to the Click Down. I'm excited you're able to join us today.
Hey, Steve. I'm really excited to be here at the Clickdown. It's my first time. I've been following this series for such a long time, and I finally made it to the show. So I'm super excited about this.
Yeah, I'm glad. Yeah, I know it's something I've been trying to get you on for a while. I'm glad you're able to join us. It's going to be a great topic and discussion. So I'm looking forward to it. So let's start with the basics of Windows 365, or what is commonly called Cloud PC. So at its core, Windows 365 is a virtual Windows PC experience. So instead of having your operating system, your applications, and your data stored on that local physical device, everything's going to reside in the cloud. It's accessible from any device with an internet connection. So Thomas, how does Citrix play into this?
Yeah, Stephen, thank you for the explanation of what Cloud PC is. I think there's still a lot of misconceptions out there, what it is and what it isn't. And I think your summary was really good. And I only would add that Cloud PC, it is, as the name suggests, it's really just a PC, or it is not just, it is a PC in the cloud. So it comes with all its benefits, as in it's a PC per person, typically. So there is no sharing of resources between other users. But on the other hand, it also means it's a persistent device, just as your PC on your desk would be. So you install something, you make a modification to that machine, it stays on that machine. And hence it needs to be managed individually, which is quite the opposite from a, in air quotes, traditional app and desktop virtualization infrastructure, where you typically have something like image management, where many different desktops would feed off the same golden image. So that golden image concept as such doesn't exist in the Cloud PC world.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And to your question on like how does Citrix feed in or fit into this overall Cloud PC landscape? It really, for Citrix, this is just another type of desktops. It's as I just said, it's a very special type. It comes with flat rate pricing. Customers don't need to worry about the underlying infrastructure, how that scales or how this can be made highly available. It just works. They just subscribe to a service, which, in contrast to other DaaS solutions where you need to build your infrastructure or build your machines on top of it in some shape or form, they just subscribe to a desktop of a specific size, a specific shape, like in terms of resources, and then you get going with it. So it is very simple, but it also comes with a price tag. And because of its as a service nature, it comes with a little less flexibility than, in air quotes again, a traditional VDI solution. So for us, in summary, for us, it's really another type of desktops which ideally complements the app and desktop virtualization infrastructure of very large scale organizations.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I mean, to me, it seems like it's almost just like another resource location, right? Maybe a little bit different to set up, but it's something else that we're delivering or have the ability to deliver.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So how then does Citrix complement or enhance, the overall Windows 365 experience? Are there specific benefits that we can bring to the table?
There are indeed, and it is a long set of values which we provide for Windows 365 customers. And just to bucket them up into easy to explain, let's say, packages, it is we help Windows 365 customers to even better protect the intellectual property which sits on those on those machines, or which is accessed through those Windows 365 Cloud PCs. We help customers to reduce the cost, mainly by making admins more efficient, making processes a little more streamlined, especially if those customers already have an existing Citrix deployment or an existing app and desktop virtualization solution, maybe I should say. And by making admins more efficient, we make the overall solution cheaper. And maybe the third bucket to call out, it is helping customers to really drive distributed and hybrid work by just making any app work over any network on any endpoint, which is really that good old Citrix any story, but it holds true for cloud PCs as well in the modern day.
Okay, great. And what about licensing? I mean, if I'm a customer, I'm listening to this, everything sounds great. Is there a specific Citrix license that I need to use or to have in order to use Citrix with the Cloud PC?
Oh, that is a good question. And it's great that you bring it up because we just made the announcement at Ignite that we're changing our licensing or our entitlement, I should say, for Windows 365 workloads in an exciting way. So going forward, we enable or entitle customers to deploy unlimited Windows 365 instances with Citrix. So that means, let's take an example. You already have a Citrix infrastructure of, let's say, 5,000 users which access their general purpose workspace on a daily basis. Now you have some sort of a big IT project maybe, which means you need to bring in 500 more users, maybe 500 developers of some sort. We allow customers to deploy Citrix on those 500 cloud PCs free of charge, which I think is pretty exciting. So that means you only need to have an existing Citrix license for normal virtual apps and desktops or DAS, and Windows 365 integration comes free of charge along with that for the current term of the contract with Citrix.
Yeah, that is a pretty exciting announcement there. So that's probably something that our customer are going to be excited to hear.
I hope so.
So, how does Citrix simplify the management and administration of Windows 365 Cloud PC?
Well, that is the great part here is that we consider Cloud PC, as I said before, just another kind of desktop. So that in turn means you can add Cloud PCs to your Citrix infrastructure and keep the same tooling, the same processes you're using to manage Citrix today, also for Cloud PC. So just taking an example, you have a Citrix infrastructure, half of it runs on premises, half of it runs in Azure, and you just want to add Cloud PC. This is just another type of desktops, just another resource zone, really. And they all pop up in the same console, and you can manage them in the very same way. So unified management is one thing from a configuration perspective. Now, that also applies to the day-to-day management. So if Steve calls and says, oh, my session is slow, then the support team doesn't have to figure out, are you using on-prem or a cloud PC or something different? You really just go into Citrix Monitor, type in the username, and you will see all the resources, including cloud PCs, and then can do the same troubleshooting on those cloud PCs, like killing a process, for example, like you do on a normal infrastructure. And the third thing I may want to call out here is there is all this observability tooling like Uber Agent or Citrix Analytics that really provides that deep view into user experience that doesn't really necessarily help with troubleshooting as the user calls me and is on the phone with me, but it's more like longer term service optimization, identifying root causes, and then of course making service better, making me then more productive because I can understand like where a problem comes from and then solve it before it becomes a ticket the next time.
Makes sense. Yeah. So when we talk about some of the technologies that we have that we always mention to that enhances the overall experience of virtual desktops and everything, right? But let's think about how they play into Windows 365. So things like HDX, workspace environment management, WEM, and session recording. Are they all still integratable with Windows 365?
Yes, they are. They are, and then the integration is extremely simple, to be honest. So when you look at the Windows 365 Cloud PC architecture at the highest level, you really have just a few components. You have the endpoint. Obviously, I need to consume my virtual desktops, Cloud PC. I have the Cloud PC as such, that virtual machine which Microsoft builds for me and I subscribe to as a service. And then on top of that, we have Intune, which is used to obviously manage the endpoint in most of the cases, manage the Cloud PC, but it's also used to entitle users to actually use a Cloud PC. So all the license entitlement and the management and provisioning policies related to the Cloud PC service are done in Intune and through Intune. Now, if a Citrix customer says, or if a customer says in general, I would like to use Citrix in addition or on top of Cloud PC, all they need to do is to connect Citrix Cloud with Intune. And this is really just that typical workflow we all know from all those different cloud services when they talk to each other. So you just point at the cloud, you say, I would like to integrate with Citrix. You authenticate, you allow the permissions, and then those two cloud services start talking to each other. So marrying or connecting those two services is really the first step you do as an admin. And then as a second step, then you will see a list of users which already have Cloud PCs entitled in the Intune world. You see them in the Citrix consoles, and there you make a decision and say, I would like to assign a Citrix license for these 10 users out of the 500 or whatever you may have. So you entitle users to use Citrix on top of Windows 365, and that which is really the second step. And in the moment that entitlement is done, we talk to Intune, we talk to Microsoft and say, tell them, enlighten them about that that integration or that configuration. And then Microsoft will go ahead and install the Citrix Virtual Desktop Agent, that component we need to connect the virtual desktop to the Citrix platform. They will install that VD8 Virtual Desktop Agent right into the assigned Cloud PC for the users I just gave a license to. So, and from that moment on, the users have the ability to connect through their Citrix workspace or through their storefront or whatever shape or form they are using to connect the Citrix infrastructure to the Cloud PC as well. So basically, Cloud PC, that Cloud PC instance pops up just as another resource within their workspace app. So the integration is really simple. Connect Cloud PC and or Citrix and Intune together, entitle users, and then all the rest is essentially done automatically. And with that, all the integrations work just as we know them from other workloads. So be that a Cloud PC, which we're talking about, or be that a machine which just runs on native Azure, it feels the same, it does the same, it provides the same features and functionalities.
Awesome. Yeah, and as a quick plug here, we do have a POC guide on TechZone that actually walks you through everything you just talked about step by step. So that, which is great, and I know we have a video series coming out as well. So it is pretty simple to kind of walk through and set it up, and people can get going right away.
Yeah, absolutely. It's that like 1, 2, 3, 4 in this case steps to walk through, and then off they go. And it's the cool thing. It's really just a one-time effort, and then it just works.
Exactly. So when we think about performance, does Citrix impact performance of the cloud PC? Do our typical optimizations or enhancements that we would typically utilize in a non-persistent or even a persistent virtual desktop environment, do they still work in the cloud PC environment?
To some degree. What we have to keep in mind, to my point earlier, a cloud PC is a machine which is used by one user at that given point in time. So even if with special cloud PC licensing, multiple users may share the same machine, they are using it one after the other. So that means one machine, one user, or one user, one machine, and there is only so much you can do in terms of optimization. So typical things like workspace environment, CPU, and memory optimization wouldn't do any difference on those cloud PCs because there is nothing to optimize between users. But that being said, what certainly helps is we can improve the logon times to those machines if that happens to be a problem with workspace environment management. It's offloading capabilities of scripts and whatnot that could do a difference. What certainly does do a difference for every use case or for every scenario is technologies we have built into our HDX stack. So things like browser content redirection, which offloads content of websites. Think of it like Google Maps, for example, or some
Hmm.
geo information system or whatever have you, we offload that from the virtual cloud PC onto the endpoint for rendering. And by doing so, we obviously provide the user a much better experience, a native experience, because the app runs locally. Then we would provide if it's a virtual application or application which is delivered virtually. The same is true for unified communications. If you go beyond Teams into things like Zoom or WebEx or 9x9 or all the others, then we provide unified communication, SDKs, integrations, optimizations to do very much the same, offloading the voice and the audio and video processing to the endpoint, and by doing so provide a better experience. So that is one part of and improving the performance on the cloud PCs. The other part is, if I may call that out, is it's offloading resource-intensive applications. Now, here's the thing: cloud PCs you buy them in a specific size. So you say, Steve gets a PC with 2 CPUs and 4 gig of memory, just for example. Now, if you have very resource-intensive applications, there's two things I can do. I can give you a bigger PC, which obviously costs more money, and that there's it can get quite expensive quite quickly. What you could do also is you could offload, decouple essentially those applications, assuming they are not used 8 hours a day, to other systems which may run on premises or on a different infrastructure. And by doing so, Steve can keep a smaller cloud PC instance and run with it at good performance. And when it comes to those resource-intensive applications, we are just showing them in the virtual desktop, in the cloud PC, and then you get a good experience on both sides without spending more money.
Awesome. Yeah. So I mean, it really just sounds obviously Citrix is known for the end user experience. We provide the great experience. I remember years ago we always mentioned providing a local like experience, right? And it really seems like what we do, our integration with the Windows 365 is just going to carry on that tradition.
Absolutely.
So when we think about security, and obviously Citrix has a number of things today that we really try to use to contribute to the overall security posture of deployments. Where does that fit into the Windows 365 deployment? Is there specific security features or capabilities that we offer to Windows 365 environment?
I would say there's nothing specific to Cloud PC. I would say the other way around. We bring all the great security features and functionalities we have in Citrix, Virtual Apps and Desktop STARs, to Cloud PC as well. So, and I mean, security, besides cost, maybe is one of the key imperatives for any organization these days. So data users access needs to stay safe. Data can't leave the organization. That's kind of like the general consensus, if I may say, or the general goal of everyone. And there's a few technologies or features we bring to a cloud PC as well, which help protecting that intellectual property in maybe in even more mature ways than without Citrix. So maybe we could start with granular policies. So we have a very rich set of policies which allow or control how users can interact with resources with their cloud PC in this particular case. Can they download a file, or can they print, or is there a watermark being displayed or not? And we can make that contextual. So based on the location where the user is connecting from, the security posture of the device, or whatever you feel is a good property to determine what the user should, or when a user should have full access, or in some shape or form limited access, we can apply those policies dynamically. And if it changes, if the user then the next time has a different security posture when connecting, then obviously we adjust the policy. So it makes it easy to find that right balance between good user experience and strict security without annoying the user and without risking of losing sensitive data. Then we bring also a set of DLP functionalities to Cloud PC as well. So things like screen capture for Microsoft brings out of the box, but it only works for Windows and Mac endpoints. We bring it for Linux, which is then either a native Linux or
Hmm.
thin clients, iOS, Android. Um, uh, 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 as well, same as all the keyboard logging. We bring in addition to that, so we prevent that logging of the keyboard input, which goes into the cloud PC. So if there's some malicious software being installed on the endpoint, which tries to log whatever the user types in, we can prevent that from happening. And the same then goes along the line of watermarking. Microsoft provides some base functionalities where they can display a watermark when you're coming from a Windows endpoint. We can also do it on other platforms as well. And maybe the last thing I wanna call out is session recording. So we have a deep visibility into what users are doing within their cloud PC. We can record the screen as soon as they connect, or we can wait for specific triggers to happen, like a user launches an unsanctioned application or does a specific thing they shouldn't do. Let's say they add a removable USB drive to their local machine and it gets mapped into the session. So the user shouldn't maybe do that. Then we kick in screen recording and record what the user is doing, which files are being transferred, which commands are being run, and so on. That also can obviously help with if I do advanced troubleshooting. So if the user has some sort of an
Hmm.
application issue, I can also record the session. But in this security context, then that session recording helps obviously to determine what was going on, and was it on purpose, or did the user just do something which triggered a false alarm? But there's much more we can do.
Yeah, it really seems like there would then be some specific use cases or even scenarios where we could see, utilizing Citrix with Windows 365 could really help. Are we seeing these use cases, happening today? Are there ones that, you're talking to customers that, about this sort of situation?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the things I come across quite often is that Cloud PC is used for temporary workers, but also a lot for, let's say, remote admins, remote developers. And oftentimes, when there is remote admins in the picture, organizations have compliance reasons to record what those admins are doing. How
Hmm.
are they accessing the systems? Which modifications are they doing? It also comes down to, like, if this remote admin makes a change and production goes down for my manufacturing customer, who's liable? Whose fault was it, and what was the fault? And then obviously session recording, among other things, come into play here very quickly.
Awesome, awesome. So, I mean, it sounds all great, and obviously, we want to push Citrix, and I think you and I have both been at Citrix for a long time, so I think we realize how great of a technology Citrix is. But when we think about the overall technology and working with Windows 365, are there any limitations or considerations that we have to consider when integrating?
I would say there is there are a few limitations, as in certain functionalities work slightly different when mostly coming with an Entra ID native um, uh, joined cloud PC or machine
Hmm.
into a Citrix infrastructure. So there's just considerations around that, but it's very small, and we're working very hard to remove those, let's call it gaps or limitations. But cloud PC in general is a new thing. It often, because it is intended to be a cloud native service. It is intended to be a modern managed service. Intune in this case, it comes with a few interesting challenges in no
Hmm.
negative sense when adopting it. So what I would say is, when customers considering um, rolling out or adopting cloud PCs, then what they really should start with, and this is not nothing specific to cloud PC, is it's in general, is first understand the needs of your users and understand the needs of the applications you're trying to deliver, and then pick the best platform. And in many use cases, I talked about developers, remote admins, temporary workers. Cloud PC might be the best thing. It might be the best platform. It might be the most cost-effective platform you can think of. But there are other scenarios where you may have some shift workers, or you have shared devices, kiosks, you have just general purpose workspaces. There might be other platforms which fit the needs of the users, the organization, the applications better. So first, understand what you really need and then build the infrastructure. Don't come with a solution and look for what the question could be. Then number two is, I alluded to it earlier, it's Entra ID. Entra ID native is like where Microsoft would like customers to go, and many customers are interested to go Entra ID native, but it comes with a few implications. One is if I sign in with an Entra ID to an Entra ID native machine, and I have applications which need to connect to backend services like a file share, database service, or whatever, and that backend service has a Kerberos authentication requirement, then this is not working because there is no Kerberos in this picture.
Mm-hmm.
So I might need to consider don't do an Entra ID native, but an Entra ID hybrid join where I still have an Active Directory in addition to Entra, to overcome this authentication challenge, because otherwise my users get prompted for username and password every time they click on, let's say, a file share, which is quite annoying, I guess.
Right. Yeah. Trying to make it easy for those end users, right? So
Absolutely, and this is the
yep.
point. It's like what do users need, and what do the applications need? Always coming back to this, and maybe number three, which I've seen customers struggling is the wrong word, but spending thoughts on how to manage it is like when you're moving again to Entra and to a modern managed world. This often comes with light management. It's quite the
Mm-hmm.
opposite from the past, where you had like policies for each and every setting under the sun, which was controlled from an Active Directory. In Intune, it's more like light management. You set a few guardrails and off you go. But that means you need to move policies in some capacity from Active Directory into Intune, convert them, migrate them. Now, the challenge is not everything can be migrated. So it goes back to like, what do I really need? What do my users really need? What do my applications expect in terms of configurations, logon scripts, whatever they may need. And then I need to figure out a way to operationalize this. So how do I manage two sets of policies now? If a user comes into Cloud PC and then maybe connects to a local machine, which is AD integrated or something along the lines of that, how do I keep a consistent user experience, and how do I manage all of this? And what I've seen customers exploring in this in the same as part of this is things like Citrix Workspace Environment Management, which can abstract policies into
Mm-hmm.
into a third party, if you will, and then apply those settings on both ends. So you have like one repository of management of policies settings, which can apply in both worlds at the same time. So you're working around those challenges I just talked about. So
All right.
these are things I see with customers quite a lot.
Awesome. Yeah, I think what I really take away from that too, from what you just said is you really have to, I think, do a lot of planning, right? So I think
Yeah,
with any virtual desktop, virtual application deployment, and if when you're looking at a new resource location, a new technology, I think always not just jumping in, but actually carefully considering everything, going through a good planning stage is really going to help down the line.
oh, absolutely, absolutely. Otherwise, you jump in, you get. I mean, you jump in, you get something going quickly. The same is true for Citrix. I mean, you subscribe to it and off you go. You just build it out. But then it's like
Yep.
the problems hit you on day two when you need to manage it, patch it, all the things. That is what you need to figure
Exactly.
out before you start, I guess.
Exactly. So, to wrap things up, like with, the last question I have is, is there anything that you can share today around new features or capabilities that are on our roadmap that's going to further enhance this integration with Citrix and Windows 365?
Well, I can say there is a long list of things we're working on or are exploring. But obviously, sharing roadmap information in public forum is always a bit challenging. But what I can say is we are working very hard to make sure that all the Citrix functionalities customers know and love from DAS and CVAT also work with modern Entra ID native enrolled virtual desktops, without any compromises there. Then we are also looking into even deeper integration with the Windows 365 platform to make admins even more effective than they are today when using
Mm-hmm.
this integration. And maybe number three is, because that is a constant question I get, is we are working also on a way to allow single sign-on into Entra ID native cloud PCs without the use of Citrix federated authentication services FAS, because that adds some complexities in itself. And we have found a way to provide that single sign experience from an Entra ID enrolled endpoint all the way through Workspace app into the desktop, and then even into web applications using the same tokens back and forth. So users would really just sign in once, and then it all just single signs on all the way. So if someone is interested in learning more about this, please drop me a note and I can enroll you into a private tech preview to show you what that actually looks like.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting. That's I think would
Absolutely.
be it would yeah. I'm glad to hear that. So yeah, I mean Thomas, I really appreciate you joining me today. I mean, fortunately we're just about out of time, but I'm glad you were able to come on. This was a lot of great information. I'm looking forward to seeing what else we're going to be doing with Citrix and integrating it with Windows 365. But I really do appreciate you coming on today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
So thank you everybody else for joining us today too. I think this discussion is really pointed that Citrix and Microsoft's long-standing partnership is continuing with this integration with Citrix and cloud PCs. I look forward to seeing what the future holds with all this. And as we come forward to the upcoming season of the Clickdown, we're going to be having more episodes with a lot of updates and insights over the next few months. I look forward to you joining me. So until next time, this has been the Clickdown.